generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, we are doing our Shoot the Sheev news segment. We got a handful of news stories that are well worth letting you know about, and some reminders about some things coming up within the next week or two. That's exciting. So we're gonna kick it off with, well, I should say we normally talk about video games, board games, and movies and TV shows. And so today we're gonna start it off with the board game section. Just because we don't have very much, so this is kind of like the appetizer of what's yet to come today. So, little side note, if you haven't heard, there is recently a card game that has come out called Disney Lorcana. Very popular, selling very well. It's got some cards that are worth some ridiculous amounts of money already, and so it's super popular. Why are we bringing this up? Well, because there's also supposed to be a new Star Wars trading card game coming out as well, called Star Wars Unlimited. It is being made by Fantasy Flight Games, and it's supposed to be coming out on March 8th. Now, why is this significant? Well, because it almost seems like Disney Lorcana may be overshadowing it. I know, Sarah, would you like to tell our viewers about the Facebook post that you were reading earlier today and how that went?
Yeah, so let me just start off by saying I personally have not seen anything advertising this game at all. If Jeremy hadn't told me about it, I wouldn't have known that it even exists, let alone been hyped to buy it because I just didn't know that it was there. But in one of our Facebook groups that we're a part of, somebody was trying to ask, what's the hype level like for this game, and are people as excited for this as Lorcana? And kind of where that conversation went to was just that there's so many pre-orders for that new Star Wars card game that are not actually being ordered or used, which means the demand is just not there. If you remember with Lorcana, if you're familiar with that, when that first launched, those pre-orders were basically impossible to get because they sold out within seconds. Meanwhile, the Star Wars card game comes out in just a couple weeks, and there's an abundance of pre-orders. Now, that could be one of two things, right? One is they're made by different companies. Lorcana is by Ravensburger, and this Star Wars one you said is by Fantasy Flight Games. So maybe it's just that they have more availability. Maybe with Lorcana, they just weren't confident in it, so that's why their print quantity was really low, so the pre-orders sold out artificially really fast. So that could be part of it. But the other part, I think, is just the lack of marketing. You don't see it, you don't hear about it hardly anywhere.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I even heard about it until like looking up. What I periodically just either Google or go on Amazon and type Star Wars board games or card games just to see what's out there for the news, especially when I'm wanting to learn about the villainous stuff that's supposed to be coming out this year. And I feel like that's how I learned about this game, is it just randomly popped up in a Google search one time. But I also, so just talking about the history of Star Wars trading card games for a second. When I was younger, I collected the Star Wars trading card game. There was a card game that was, I think it started around the time when the special editions came out, and it was all about the original trilogy. And from what I've heard, because I never learned how to play, I just collected the cards. From what I've heard, is that it was actually a pretty popular game among Star Wars fans. Um, but what I also remember is that some other card games tried to come out with Star Wars, and kind of what I noticed, and maybe other people have different opinions about this, is something tells me that Star Wars trading card games kind of got oversaturated, or maybe it's just too niche of a trading card game market. I mean, heck, during that time, Pokemon and Magic, and I somewhere around there, Yu-Gi-Oh! And I also remember Dragon Ball Z cards were all out at that time too. And so, I mean, just from what I saw people playing, I never saw people playing Star Wars game, but I always saw people playing the other games. So something tells me there's a little bit there where the history doesn't quite support it. But there's also another side of it, and this is part of the reason why myself I don't really want to. I have some uh,
Hesitancy?
hesitancy of trying to get into this, and this is what it is. So we tried a Star Wars card game by Fantasy Flight. It was Star Wars Destiny. We actually enjoyed it, but it really wasn't a game that Sarah and I really picked up on where we were like, we want to play this often. We want to build decks. It was just kind of a we got enough to get into it for a little bit, but we weren't ever really excited for the expansions that came out. So we have a ton of it, but we don't do much with it. And that game was by Fantasy Flight, and it went under. They discontinued it. Now Fantasy Flight is trying to come out with this new trading card game, and what bothers me is that I feel like there's a slight bit of laziness to it because the first set of this new game, Star Wars Unlimited, the first set is called Spark of Rebellion. Guess what one of the sets was called for Star Wars Destiny? Spark of
The Spark of
Rebellion.
Rebellion?
So I'm just like, what are we doing here? Are we really paying attention to it? Are we really trying to put a foot forward? Or, is this one of those like Hollywood situations where we make something as a tax write-off because it doesn't do well? I don't know if that works the same way in the trading card game world, but something just doesn't feel right about it. Myself, I feel like I want to pick up the starter decks and just try it out. And then that'll be like a game, on our game cabinet or shelves where Sarah and I, if we want to, take it out and try it out, sure. If not, I don't really see us collecting those cards, especially because we collect Lorcana. That gets expensive very quickly because we're kind of completionists when it comes to collecting the cards. So, with Lorcana, it's going to be our goal to have one of each card. And then if we happen to have extras from our booster boxes, then we can make some decks. I have all the starter decks. We have fun with those. But being wanting to have all the cards, that's going to be super expensive for us. So me as a consumer, especially with Lorcana out, which means we're probably not the only people in this boat. I don't think there's gonna, I think it's gonna almost be dead on arrival. It might survive one, two, maybe three expansions, but something tells me it's not going to survive just because Destiny went under. Now, granted, Destiny had dice involved too. This game doesn't have any dice, it's purely cards, and it's supposed to be inspired by a lot of popular card games, which when I was reading through some of the rules and whatnot, there's a lot of parallels to like Lorcana, Pokemon, stuff like that. So,
One thing that I want to know with Lorcana versus this new what is this new Star Wars game called?
Unlimited. Star Wars
Star Wars
Unlimited.
Star Wars Unlimited. So, in comparing these two, which you almost kind of can't help but do because they're coming out within the same 6 month time span, right? But Disney constantly has new films coming out, as well as TV shows, but new movies, right? Where some of these cards are inspired by, or even just movies to come, like Moana 2 was announced for later this year, right? So this most recent set of cards, there's a lot of Moana cards. Why? Because they just announced a new movie. Star Wars doesn't, they have new shows coming out, but no new movies. Like it's not paired with any new movie launches to kind of help hype and boost those sales. And so I feel like the timing for when this is being launched is really not great. And I think that's going to be playing a factor into its downfall for sure.
I looked it up as well because Lorcana does this thing where it goes to your local game stores first, and then 2 weeks later it comes out to retailers. The Chapter 3 set of Lorcana is going to be releasing on the same day as Star Wars Unlimited. So if you're a consumer, which one are you going to go for? You know, one that's already established and doing very well and has a nice following, or are you going to try a different one that, you know, could be kind of risky in that sense? So I don't know. I feel like the Star Wars Unlimited is going to be a very interesting situation to watch, and I hope the best for it, of course, but something tells me it might be a little iffy moving forward. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of The Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one, so please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. All right, so that's what we got for you for board games and card games. Let's transition over to movies and shows. We got some good stuff for the video game realm, but some of my favorite things are in there, so we're going to save that for last. So movies and shows. Okay, so an easy one to kind of get out there right away. Andor Season 2 has been wrapped for filming. So that's good news for all the people that are really excited about Andor Season 2. I wouldn't say I'm excited. I would say I'm curious because,
I have a question. When
yeah,
you say wrapped for filming, does that mean filming is wrapped up or they're ready to film because the script writing is wrapped up?
filming is wrapped up means that the actors can go home. They've filmed everything and now it's all going to post.
Your wording was a little flip-flop, so I just want to make sure I understood you correctly.
Yeah. So they are all done filming the show. Now they're waiting to, you know, clean it up in the editing room and then eventually release it to Disney Plus. Probably next year. I don't really anticipate it coming this year, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a little holiday gift at the end. I don't know. But the good news is for those of you that are excited about it, they did finish wrapping. So you know, look forward to that very soon. Hopefully, not too long. Let's see. Here's a big one. So, a little bit of background information here. Not too long ago, obviously, oh, his name is escaping me. The owner of Tesla,
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk bought Twitter, changed it to the X. And one of the things that Elon said in one of his posts was, if you feel that you were wronged for your speech, I will fund your case against whoever. And Gina Carano, we all know from Star Wars, was removed from The Mandalorian because of things that she was posting on Twitter. All to your own of how you interpret what she was doing. Myself, I think she was perfectly fine. I saw the post. She wasn't doing anything wrong. So with her being fired, there's not just me, there's tons of people that feel that way, that this was wrong. And Elon is one of them. And so Gina reached out to Elon for a case to sue Disney. How do you think that's going to go?
Oh boy. Well, Disney is very strong about their feelings of what got her fired, and they try to be very proactive and I'm trying to think of the right words here.
Aggressive?
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was trying to think of. They're trying to be really progressive, which is great. Right, that's a good thing. Most of the time, depends on how you handle it, I suppose. But I don't think they're going to allow this to deface them, I feel like there's going to be some sort of payoff or something to make this go away. Um, that's just kind of my thought or interpretation because I don't think that they could stomach the idea of losing such a case and having the bad publicity around that. I don't feel like that would end well for them.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like, if I remember correctly, I think it was Chapek that was the CEO when she got fired. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure that's who it was. And under his leadership, they were very progressive. Once he was replaced by Iger didn't care. I mean, Iger's even come out and told Disney that, the reason why your movies aren't successful anymore, he's saying this to the studios, is because you're reaching for a message and trying to basically tell society what's what, and you're not actually making good films. That is what he
Focusing
said.
more on entertainment.
Yeah, you can look it up. It happened. So with it makes me interested to see what Iger would do in response to this. There hasn't been much that's been said or done yet, but I personally, I think what Iger would do is that he would be like, you know what? Yeah, Chapek was stupid. He didn't shouldn't have done that, and you can come back and we'll pay you what you're supposed to get. They're they it, they're
Do you
probably
think she'd want to come back?
She might, if the money speaks, okay? Money speaks. And fans want her back. She was supposed to have her own show. So I think it really depends on, based on what I've read. Gina states, the people she was working around, all those people thought that she was a loving, caring person. They didn't have any issues with Gina. It was, she made some posts on Twitter. The CEO of Disney didn't really care for it, and in my opinion, acted way too much in the sense of uh, a few people on the internet are telling me she's wrong for this, therefore she's fired. And that was one of the big firings from cancel culture. And so I I kind of wonder with new leadership, like think about it. If you left a place when you let's say you left your favorite job because the boss was just terrible, and then you found out that the boss was replaced with somebody that, could be better or might support you or reason or understand why you left or what grievances you'd have with whoever was before them. I feel like if that person recognized those things and, gave you some benefit of the doubt, I think she'd come back. And again, especially if the money's good.
Especially if the money's good. Money changes everything, right?
Yeah. And if she comes back, maybe I can finally afford a Gina Carano Black Series figure because those things are expensive. They're like $100. I need a market crash now on those things.
It's my money and I need it now.
It's my money and I need to keep it now. That's what I think. So yeah, Gina Carano is going to go after Disney in some way, shape, or form, and Elon Musk is going to be backing her. So we'll have to see what comes of that lawsuit, even if it ends up happening, and if it does, what outcomes it will have. The last little piece, well, actually, there's two more pieces because one of them happened today. One of the things that happened this month is Empire Magazine had said that they had a big announcement that was supposed to come. And I got on Twitter and I made sure I was, there when that time came. And their big news was that they were having special editions of their magazine come out. I was let down from that for sure.
That was
But
big news, Jeremy.
it was, I suppose, if you're big into magazines. But what they were talking about was pretty cool. They're celebrating the anniversary of the prequels. So I think they said it's like the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace or something like that. And so they have a whole special section there where they went back and interviewed a lot of the people that were part of the prequel projects. and got some insight of what was going on back then and how they feel now. And so if you're into those kinds of things, I think that'd be a great thing for you to look into. Probably the thing that they announced that I am more excited about is that the Phantom Menace will be coming back to movie theaters in May. So this was the very first Star Wars movie I have ever seen in theaters, so it'll be really cool to go back and experience that again, especially since we have the movie pass, so I don't have to pay extra for it.
I never saw it in theaters, so this will be my very first time.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I don't know what they're gonna do yet, but I'm pretty sure back when George Lucas was still, in charge of Lucasfilm, I'm pretty sure there was an IMAX 3D release of The Phantom Menace. I would be blown away if they release this in IMAX because I would love to see that edition. But something tells me it's going to be like Return of the Jedi, where it's just going to be like one weekend, and if you get to see it, great. If not, sorry, kind of a thing. Because I feel like that's exactly what Return of the Jedi was.
Yeah.
But definitely excited for that.
When
Uh,
is that again?
it's the first weekend in May, I believe. It's like May 5th or something like that.
Okay.
Somewhere around there, right around Star Wars Day. Yeah, and the last piece of movie news for the month that we got for you is that I actually saw it today, was that I suppose Disney is going to be filming all, or at least most of, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in California. And they're going to be filming there so much, they got a huge tax incentive for filming there, like $21 million tax incentive to film in California. So if you don't know why that's somewhat significant, is a lot of the Star Wars movies were filmed overseas. A lot of them. I don't remember. It's in Europe, but I don't remember what the company's name is. But not many of them were made here. So having pretty much almost an entire Star Wars film made in the States, I think that's kind of unheard of. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Uh, I haven't heard much about the budget of the film, but I hope they do more than basically just make a 2 to 2.5 hour Mandalorian episode, if that makes sense. I want them to put more money and love and care into what we're seeing on screen and the complexities that we can, get involved with now that it's going to be a theatrical release.
I have two questions relating to this, neither of which you're going to have an answer for, but there's something for us to think about. One
Hey, buddy.
is I wonder how much they're going to use the Redwood Forest, which, if you don't know, was used for a lot of the indoor scenes, if not all of them. I don't know an exact amount, but they use that for filming indoor, right? So I'm curious to see if they'll use that. And two is California is where Hollywood is. So how much of this is really going to be location-based shooting, which I thought was why they were overseas so much for a lot of the other movies. Go ahead.
I was gonna say no, there's like a big stage warehouse place out there, and they normally use that a lot. Even though the
Mm,
things look like they're like for the sequel trilogy, even though a lot of that stuff looks like it was outdoors, it wasn't. Like
interesting.
that, like the scene in The Force Awakens in the snow forest at the end, that was all in a building.
I gotcha. Well, what I was going to say is that I wonder if it's going to have a different look or feel to it because it's going to be more in a warehouse than as opposed to location-based shooting. But I guess I totally had that backwards, and they've been in warehouses all along, or at least for a lot of it, not saying always. So maybe it'll just be the same, but here instead of over there. So
Yeah, there's definitely like you said, a lot of places that were shot on location. Because that's definitely something I think that would be kind of a cool bucket list, is to go to the different locations where things were actually filmed. Um, but yeah, it makes me curious how much they're going to use that technology ring thing. I forget what they call it. But the thing that they use a lot for the Mandalorian, I really hope that they don't, because I feel like that's what they are using to cut corners and costs for the shows on Disney Plus. I want them to actually, really dive in there, but who knows? I'm sure they're going to use it just because they're probably trying to perfect the system and make it better and better. Seeing how they can use it for a theatrical release just might do it. Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings, where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns, and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. Okay, so some of my favorite stuff to talk about for the news is the video games. So we had a decent amount of video game news this month. The first one, which is probably one of the earliest things that was announced that really is piquing my interest. I have no idea what's going to happen with this project. I don't think anybody really does. But supposedly Disney invested $1.5 billion with a B dollars into Epic Games. And there's supposed to be some sort of weird crossover with Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and one of Epic's biggest properties, Fortnite. So what is going to happen here? It makes me wonder, like, the idea of the crossover stuff was huge for Disney Infinity. Okay, one of our most prized possessions, at least one of mine, because I love that game. But I don't really foresee that being kind of what they're going for, is it gonna be basically just a mode in Fortnite where you visit different places that are inspired by these properties and locations, or is it gonna be something all completely on its own? What do you think?
Well, let's start with what we've had already, right? So if you're not familiar with Fortnite, it's a battle royale kind of shooting game, where you can build, but then you also collect weapons and whatnot, and you want your team to win or yourself to win, depending on what mode you're playing in, right?
And if you
And they've
don't know
had
that, you need to get out from underneath that rock.
um they've had Star Wars characters and Marvel characters. Have they had Marvel? I know they've had Spider-Man,
It
but was
definitely
that
had
the
Marvel.
Sony?
They had a whole season about Marvel.
Okay. I must have missed it then.
That
But
that was
anyway,
before your time. That was before your
okay.
time in Fortnite.
I'm gonna take that free pass.
Yep.
But anyway, so they've had Star Wars and Marvel in there already because you get to pick your character, you get to pick some of your like accessories for your character, maybe different skins or wraps for your weapons and those types of things, right? So they've already done Star Wars and Marvel. They haven't done Disney that I know of at least.
I don't think so. I'm Googling it really quick because I don't think there has been.
Right? I don't think so either.
Mm-mm.
To be perfectly honest, it'd be kind of weird to see Disney characters
Oh,
in a
okay.
shoot 'em up.
Technically, there has been because they had Tron
Mm,
and they had Jack Skellington recently. So they did
okay.
start to meddle a little bit into Fortnite. Um,
Yeah,
we haven't played a whole lot as of lately, so we did miss out on that stuff.
I gotcha.
But
But
keep
yeah,
going.
so story-wise, there is a story throughout every season. The seasons change every couple months. It's a Fortnite-based story, right? Like when they have the Star Wars characters, it's not necessarily a Star Wars story. There might be some elements trying to find and defeat Vader and those types of things, but the overall arching story is not with these properties. And I feel like for them to invest that kind of money that they're putting into this right now, there's got to be something way more expansive than what they've already done.
Well,
Um,
you see those dollar signs from how much Fortnite makes just from skins and those microtransactions. I feel like they're like, Heck yeah, we'll invest in you as long as we get some of that dough, right? From,
Well,
all
here's
the
the other
property,
question. Fortnite is free to play.
right?
Disney had said before that Dreamlight Valley was going to be free to play, and then they later changed their mind and never made it free just to count on the microtransactions. So, will this new Fortnite mode or whatever this is that's going to be partnered with Disney and Star Wars, is it going to be free to play or not? My guess is no.
I think it will be just because so there used to be, there still is. It's probably not as popular, but there is a mode in Fortnite where it's single player and you're like going against computer characters and whatnot. I've played it a little bit. So, and that was something you had to purchase. So could they sell a mode? Yes. I don't think that's impossible, but I also think because that mode is super old and Fortnite has evolved since then, I kind of feel like that Disney could just see that Epic has a proven way of making money and, they're just trying to get their properties involved. But maybe if it's a completely different game mode, yes. But if I could see it being paid. But if it's just here's a bunch of Disney locations, go shoot each other, I think that'll be free.
That's gonna be so weird.
Yeah. And what properties are they gonna pick? You know? Because the picture that they showed us kind of like had the Disney castle in the middle, and then like a branch for this area is Marvel, a branch this area is Star Wars and stuff like that. How are they gonna choose which movies or locations are being featured during a certain amount of time where they will they change out ever so often? Probably if they have different seasons and stuff. Um, but yeah, I'm curious to see what they end up doing with that. Who knows? I don't
It'll
think we
be
have a
interesting.
date.
I have not seen one.
Yeah, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. Um,
I have a feeling they're not going to announce a date until they announce what it actually is.
right. I would agree. Let's see, what else is good? As far as I would say newer games, there was also an event announced for the game called Brawlhalla. I have never played this game before. It's kind of like it looks like a cartoony Super Smash Bros. Type game, at least to me. Again, I've never played it. Um, but I know that game has had a lot of crossovers in the past, and they're supposed to be having a Star Wars crossover. The two that were announced for it was Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it's supposed to start on March 20th. So if you're into Brawlhalla, it's a free-to-play game. So if you jump in and you want to play the Star Wars stuff, maybe you have to sink 10 or 20 bucks into it to get Anakin and Obi-Wan. I have no idea. Um, but that might be a way for Star Wars fans to experience Brawlhalla. I know if I were to try it, that'd definitely be a way to pull me in. But with the amount of stuff that we have going with video games, I probably won't. Another kind of cool thing to look forward to, though, after this event is that Disney did say, more content will be coming in the future. So maybe this isn't the only Star Wars event that will be happening in Brawlhalla. Maybe there'll be more down the road with like Ahsoka or the Acolyte. Who knows? Sky's the limit with Star Wars. I know, Sarah, you haven't played Brawlhalla either, right?
I don't think I've even heard of it before.
All right. Well, there you go, everybody. She definitely hasn't played Brawlhalla. Okay, so two more little stories here. The first one, it's kind of a reminder more or less than news, but supposedly on the 28th, so that is actually today, when this video is coming out. Um, Star Wars Dark Forces is supposed to be coming out on current gen consoles. So if you don't know what this is a game that came out in the 90s for a computer. I did have this game as a kid, but I had zero idea what I was doing. I didn't have the intellectual processes to understand this game. It's just a first-person shooter that or basically kind of resembles Doom in a way, if you know that style of gameplay. Um, but the company that did this remaster like went in and completely overhauled things. So like the cutscenes are more, I would say, modern looking. They're not going to be exactly what they were in the 90s, so it's not going to look like a 90s video game, so to speak. So there's some enhancements there. There's some enhancements, I believe, in the graphics in the game. So I'm super excited to dive into this game because, again, I didn't get to truly experience it the way it was supposed to be back in the day. So I don't know what the price point is yet. And the reason why I'm kind of wondering when this if this game is actually coming out, today or um at a later date is because on the PlayStation Store it just keeps saying announced. It doesn't say you can pre-order it. So hopefully it is out. I mean, we're gonna have to check, but and I hope it's at a decent price point, maybe like $20-$30. I really hope it's not much more than that, being a remaster. I doubt you've played Dark Forces.
Another one I didn't know it existed. I know, I'm sorry.
I played a lot more of the second one for some reason. I was able to latch onto that one and figure it out a little bit more. Because that's when the main character basically comes into his own, learning that he has force abilities, and so he like builds his own lightsaber, and he goes to um I think he goes to like Ben Kenobi's hut or something like that and finds the ways to build a lightsaber. Um so a lot of cool stuff, and I'm glad I get to experience that as an adult and try to, play through and learn some of this stuff. All right, the
You
last one.
know,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna interject here. You know what Star Wars game I did play when I was younger? It's Battlefront.
Which is our last Star
Very
Wars game.
excited for the news that's coming out right now. Go ahead.
So yeah, we did get some really, really exciting news during the Nintendo Direct recently. So during that Direct, they have a whole bunch of game announcements, and one of them that was announced was that there is a Battlefront collection coming out, and I forget the date. I think it's March 14th or 15th, one of the two. But it is a remake, not a remaster, a remake of the original two games. So Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. The collection is going to come with I already said the original game, the first one and the second one. The first one is going to have a bonus Jabba's Palace map. And the second game is going to include bonus maps of Cloud City, the Renvar Harbor, Renvar Citadel, and Yavin 4 Arena. And it's going to include two extra heroes, Ventress and Kit Fisto. Super excited about that. They're also expanding on Hero Assault. So in the past, when you played Battlefront 2, from what I remember, Hero Assault was on only very select maps. I only remember playing it on Tatooine. I can't remember if there was more, but I'm pretty sure it was just that one. But you'll be able to play that mode on a variety of maps this time around. And something else that's super exciting, 64-player multiplayer online. Holy cow. I did not get to experience that as a kid.
Oh, heck no. I had dial-up. I only played against the computers.
Well, I had buddies that would come over and we would play against each other and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely wouldn't have been able to, call in via dial-up and get a solid connection there to play online. But very stoked to dive into that with 32 versus 32 multiplayer. This game is going to be absolute fire online. I'm very curious to see what the charts will be on Steam and whatnot. I think it's coming out to Steam, but just I'm super excited. And if you're like me, where you have the PlayStation Plus subscription, when I pre-ordered it, I got 10% off the pre-order. So if you're planning on getting it and they still have that deal, jump on in there and get that 10% off. You know, money saved is money earned. Business school. Never attended, but it's great. So
March 14.
March 14th, there we go. Pi Day, everybody, Pi Day. That's when it comes out. So yeah, I'm excited to go through that. I'm curious to see if it has trophy support. I love doing trophies for video games, so I'm hoping that they do have trophy support. They do tend to do those for the re-releases, so I'm hoping it's going to be there. But yeah, mostly just excited to get in there and play online with that game. Both of them, actually, 1 and 2. And probably Sarah too. Sarah and I can duke it out, see who can be the best on the Battlefront.
We'll see if you get some playtime. I might have it preoccupied.
Oh, will you? I have to put it.
I grew up with whoever got up first got to play. So I would set my alarm early so I would be the one to be able to play.
Time to put Sarah on the roast. That already happens. That's why I get to play, because I'm always up before you.
But this game hasn't come out yet. Things are gonna change.
I cannot wait to see that. I will believe it when I see it.
Uh,
But yeah, so that is our last piece of news for February. Cool stuff. I guess some side things. Bad Batch came out this month, so we've been enjoying that so far. I'm excited to see what happens with the rest of that. And hopefully we get some announcements for when the other shows are coming out for this year. They've been doing some very weird, like, shadow dropping of information. Like, you don't anticipate that there's going to be an announcement, and then bam, there's an announcement for something Star Wars. So my guess is that's going to happen unless they're saving it for Star Wars Day. But that'll be a big month for us when we go to do our news segment, is the month of May. All right, so that's the news that we have there for you. Again, what we like to do is we do a shoot the sheave of a topic that we just bring up for the first shoot the sheave of the month, and then the second one towards the end is our news segment. So if you want to see more of these, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you are notified when our shoot the sheaves drop. Drops a like if you like the video, and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on the news from this month. And if we forgot some, let us know what cool things you saw in the comments. Chances are we didn't hear about it, so we'd love to hear about it. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.